Welcome back to the Enlightened Path podcast. This is episode number 2. This episode is about the power of awareness. If you tune in right now to what you are aware of, you might be aware that you're hearing me talk. If you consciously tuned in to like the sense of sight, what you are seeing right now on this screen, on this video, in your environment, in the room you're in, or if you're outdoors, you can immediately shift your awareness to anything around you in your physical environment. Another level of awareness is what you feel in your body. Notice if you feel anything in your body right now. Now, if you're in pain, you might be really aware of that. If you have any discomfort, you might be really aware of that. If not, what about the awareness of your heartbeat? The awareness of your breath that flows without you making any effort at either one of those things. These are things that we take for granted because they just happen. And it's a beautiful gift. We don't have to worry about it most of the time. If we have health issues and there's things that we're dealing with that may not be the case. But either way, we don't have to make ourselves or try to breathe most of the time. Same with the heart and pumping blood through the tissues. Like, our body is just an amazing vehicle. It literally does what it does. And so we can have awareness of that. Now I would invite you to expand your awareness to the energy field that you are a part of. Because there's no separation. This feels solid, but we are not separate from our surroundings. This is from, quantum physics. I invite you, if you're curious, to look that up. I'm not versed to teach it, but boy, it's been pretty eye-opening and expansive for me, and a great part of my journey of awakening, like spiritually, and that I'm not just a physical body, and I'm not my mind, and all those things. So if you expand your awareness beyond your body, sometimes a little bit of visualization is helpful. And so if you imagine there's a golden sphere of light surrounding your body, maybe it goes 3 feet beyond your body. Imagine that. Whether you close your eyes or not, you could just set the intention. If you don't see it, just set the intention that it's there, because it is there. This has been measured, by the way. There's science to back this up. Now imagine 6 feet beyond. And you can keep going, and I do this in my guided visualizations, some of which I have here on my YouTube channel, and I certainly do it in my sessions with people. Then you can expand it beyond. You can expand it through your house, through your neighborhood, through your city or town, through your state of where you live, all the way out to the, through the world and into the unlimitedness of the universe. This awareness that there is such a thing beyond just what I think here and feel here. These are important. It's not about neglecting it. But when you are aware, even being aware that I don't know all that there is in this country, world, universe. We think we know what we need to know. And we just accept it as fact, which greatly limits us and what we may experience being alive. And a lot of this turns into habit. I like to use the reference of automatic pilot. We wake up, we do the same things in the same way every day. You might have a lot of awareness about that even. I'm going, I still haven't changed this such and such thing. And I'll get it later. I'll get into, maybe other episodes, get into the story of how we, feel we're stuck and all those things. But so just by even opening up to the possibility, if you don't believe that there is a consciousness beyond this, which you probably do, or you probably wouldn't be listening to me. However, this might be new for some people. If you don't believe it, that's okay. But you could put out an open question. What if that were possible? What if there was more? What would that mean? And kind of a cool answer or response that I'm getting, I don't know. Like, the I don't know is pretty cool, but I don't know can feel very scary. And so if you bring awareness to some of these things, it's not about, oh, I have this awareness and now I have to go step out of my comfort zone. I have to take a big leap or whatever it might mean in your physical living of your life as a human. It's just getting connected with the energy, the feeling of that possibility, of the possibility that there is a much more expansive experience that we could be having. For those of you who are really resonating with this, and maybe you already have even a daily practice of connecting with that space. First of all, I'd love to hear more about what that's like for you. And if you want to share your technique isn't really the right word. If you want to share how you connect with that expansive consciousness, I will call it, or the, possibility that there's, you can take it wherever you want, God, spirit, universe, source, but, everything is connected. We're not alone. That's the other point I wanted to make is we're not alone, but we feel alone. We feel so separate because I'm in my house right now and I don't directly feel a connection with my family members. I have one family member who's about 45 minutes south of here. I have another, family member who lives in Hawaii, and people are all over the place. But if I sit and get quiet, and I like to do connection with my heart, because the heart's the bridge to the soul, it's the bridge to heart consciousness, it's a bridge to everything. And I'll probably do an episode just based in the Heart Math Institute and what they have researched and shared about even the science of it, because there is a lot of information and it's evidence-based that it helps with pretty much everything, even depression and anxiety and all kinds of things. So if I go and tune into my heart, if you can visually see it, and I usually close my eyes, I won't guide it right now, but I'm just going to name it, and bring in the thought of, let's say, my daughter, who I love so much, and an endearing, maybe a specific memory or event, or maybe just an image of having her in my life. Starting to feel some warm, fuzzy feelings of love and appreciation. Just by doing that, you are shifting your awareness from being in the physical space you're in right now to connecting with someone that you love, and that's just as real as anything else. What we feel is what really matters in any given moment. What isn't so important and what really gets us derailed and leads to pain, suffering, and all that is the story, the attachment to what we feel. Because what we feel could be uncomfortable, right? So I gave an example of something that would feel good, feeling some, warm, fuzzy love, appreciation. And so when we, on the flip side of that coin, when we are struggling with what we're feeling in the moment, becoming aware, the practice, gently practicing, because it's not about ignoring and pushing down the uncomfortable feelings to get to the warm fuzzy. If it works for you to do the heart coherence type of exercise and bring to your awareness something, someone, or place you love, and then feeling the feelings. And I guide people. I have some guided visualizations on my YouTube channel where you can expand that throughout your body and really, really feel that. But if you feel like you can't begin to focus on appreciating something because you're so anxious or so depressed, right? Yeah, it's great that these tool can help you, let's say, with depression. But at first, it might feel challenging. And so you just start where you're at. And even if you can't fully feel it, intention is very powerful and essential to anything we want in our life. We often don't set intentions. And there's a big difference between intentions and goals. And I won't go into that right now, but intention of what would I like? What would feel really good to me? Oh, what would feel good to me would be to have some relief from this anxiousness and this tension in my body. But number one, starting with loving awareness of what you do feel in this moment. And you can set the intention that you're going to acknowledge the feelings without the story of why you feel them. That takes us often right into the past, into the trauma, the upsetting, potentially traumatic experiences from the past. They are done. They're over. But, well, if they're done and over for you, right? I'm going to go off that assumption if you're listening to this right now. But if not, I hope you can, get yourself safe, and this will all still apply to you, because the more you get connected with yourself, you can make the decisions to get yourself safe, if that were the case. So, but living off the stories of the past, so the body relives it over and over and over and over and over based on the triggers, the reminders of the trauma, but with a loving awareness that that is in the past. Reliving that story, retelling that story makes it worse. As a therapist, specializing in helping people with the impact of trauma, and hearing so many examples of being asked, typically by a therapist, to tell the story with no setup about having a container, creating safety within yourself and your body, because your nervous system is what's lighting up in a not good way, in a not comfortable way, I should say. It's not bad or good. So it might take you into a panic attack, right? And why do we have those sensations in our body? That is the mind and body trying to keep you safe. It's like, oh, don't approach that memory, that thing, or that place in your town where this thing happened. Wants to divert you away from that. But what happens with that is we become imprisoned. I've seen people in my practice where their world gets smaller and smaller and smaller to where they don't leave the house. Now that's an extreme example, and that's not the typical example in what I've worked with. So, but it's also not about pushing through and just challenging it, unless you feel like you can, right? And that's what I love about these teachings. So right now, your consciousness is taking all this in. We have a very powerful subconscious part of us. That's the stuff that's not in our awareness. Your consciousness, your conscious mind is hearing this right now. But imagine that there's a wisdom, even if you don't understand directly all of these words, that your consciousness, the deeper consciousness, and even at the cellular level, is taking all this in. You'll take what fits right now and let go of the rest. You don't have to do anything with all of this. But just notice if any of it resonates. Like, it's so cool, and I can speak for my, relative to my experience, like over the years of becoming aware that I am a human being that's here on a journey. I believe I have a soul. There is a purpose to me being here, and the purpose is not primarily about what I do for a living. That is a huge part of my purpose, for sure, but it doesn't have to be, is my point. Just being who I am, smiling and holding a door open for someone, like, that's purpose. Purpose of appreciating self, not just what you do for yourself, but sitting and enjoying quiet for a few minutes. Maybe it is something you do for someone else, but usually it's putting it outward. That could be appreciating self, but it depends on how it feels. If you're neglecting yourself and there's shoulds attached and you're depleting yourself to the point of like exhaustion and stress and all that, that's not honoring yourself. That's a program, that's a pattern, that's what you need to do to be accepted and loved in the world. So I kind of get off tangents a little bit because I'm just flowing here. I don't come here with a script. I'm drawing from my heart and from my expanded consciousness to share parts of my journey. I loved hearing about people's experiences in their expansion, how they came to feel better and what it took, and like what, and without assuming that it'll be the same way for you. But it would inspire me on days where I felt so low and helpless and hopeless, that people who were struggling so much more than I was totally had a turnaround in their life, that we're not destined to live a life just as it is now. We are changing all the time. Whether or not you feel it, your cells are reproducing and they're doing all the things without you thinking about it, without you doing anything. Then you add in expanded like awareness that there is another, it's not even levels, but for lack of a better reference, levels of awareness beyond responding, to the world. Oh, this world's awful. How could I even begin to get connected with myself? There's too much going on. There's too much pain and suffering and all of that. And you may notice that as you're paying attention to all of that, you are disconnected from yourself. Now, if you wanted, you could take anything to a more awakened conscious space with it. If you tune in and go, yes, there's all of this going on. And if you feel some stress in your body directly, some of us like empaths, we can feel other people's emotions, and then we also have our own emotions about things, and that could relate to unprocessed, trauma and things like that. But just honoring that you feel what you feel without judging it, labeling it, whatever. You don't even need to name the emotion. Like, oh, well, right now I'm having kind of a heightened sense of sensations in my body when I think about this thing over in this part of the world or in your family or whatever, and things might feel really hopeless and really overwhelming. The best thing we can do when we're in that state, particularly with overwhelm, create some calm for yourself, teaching your body it is safe to calm down. If you're in a safe environment, and particularly if you find a nice quiet space, out in nature is wonderful. That's not always possible. So go with wherever you can find the quiet space, and just invite yourself to be able to just feel without a story and with just loving awareness and compassion for what you feel. We're so often good at doing that for others, but doing it for self, it's like, well, I shouldn't feel that. I got too much to do. So the power of being aware is that you have a choice, but you're not going to come into the consciousness about choice if you're not aware and in the moment going, okay, right now, this is what's going on. I will say to my clients, be aware of what you're feeling. Don't have to name it, just aware of the sensations. And then what do I need right now? And I would say if there were steps, step one is loving awareness. And then when you generate, if possible, in the moment, if you're generating some more calm in your body, not by diverting away from the emotion, but you have felt it. Usually most emotions, you'll ride a wave and it will calm. And I do like to use the tool, as I have said before, of tapping, because it can make it more tolerable and manageable without just going, okay, feelings go away, go away. You could do that, but when we just keep reburying them, they don't just disappear. They don't. We are human. We are meant to feel these emotions, but we're not destined to be imprisoned to them or enslaved by them. That we choose to do that to ourselves, often unknowingly. And I say that with no blame and no judgment. You don't need to take on the blame of why you're struggling with what you're struggling with. And often that's another really interesting thing as we look at why. Why is this happening? And I used to help my clients go back to often childhood, where we look at the why. Oh, well, because my parent did this and I felt this way and all these things, but there can be a certain benefit to that. Now where I take it is, why? I'm meant to have this experience. And then sometimes we can get more information about, okay, what's that about? But if we had trust and some version of faith that there's a bigger picture going on here, most of which I'm not conscious of, first of all, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that there isn't so much more that I'm meant to experience just by honoring right where I'm at with this loving awareness. So that's what I'll share for now. Please write questions. If you want to schedule one-on-one with me, I certainly offer that to people. It's my intention to offer groups and possibly a more community where we come together, and I'd love to do some lives with people, maybe on Instagram or whatever it might be. Or I'm just so open to all the possibilities because we're not alone. We often feel alone. I certainly have felt really alone and isolated, and I am no longer going to remain hidden and quiet. That's not why I'm here. I know at this part of my journey, I need to share. I need to reach out. And it feels good. It's not like a need where it's like, oh, I got to do this thing. It's, oh my gosh, this feels so good. This is right where I'm meant to be. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye for now.